Want to be able to have the flexibility and pliability of their muscles to be able to do everyday activities and play with their grandkids and great grandkids now, and they want to have the strength and the viability to be able to live in the best body they can. Hi everybody, and welcome to Your Second 50, where I explore topics intended to optimize every body 50, 60, 70 and above. Hi everybody. Welcome to the Judy Terrell Show. I'm Judy Terrell, and if you're joining me in this episode, then you are in my series number 9. And series number 9, I am addressing stretches that I'm going to teach you that will reverse the repetitive motions of everyday life that cause strains and tightness and joint and muscle pain that I see as trends and patterns in my clients that are 70 and over, and actually younger too, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90 and older. But I'm addressing 70 plus in this series, 70 years old, both men and women, because the stretches that I'm going to show are stretches that I've hand chosen for people who cannot get down on the floor, who have limited joint mobility, because of 70 plus years on the planet. And so that is why I'm addressing 70 plus in this series. Although, little secret, anybody of any age can do the stretches that I'm going to show you. So why am I doing this series on stretches? I am 60 years old myself, and I am working with a growing population of older clients that are 70s, 80s, and now even into their 90s. I have parents of clients that I work with. I used to only get kids of my clients, and now I'm getting their parents, because people want to stay agile. They want to stay, they want to be able to have the flexibility and pliability of their muscles to be able to do everyday activities and play with their grandkids and great grandkids now. And they want to have the strength and the, viability to be able to live in the best body they can. But everyday life has repetitive patterns that we all are falling into because it's part of our fabric of our lives and everyday lives. And so it leads to imbalances, tightness, and that leads to pain in joints and muscles. And as I'm working with older populations and becoming older myself, I started to recognize that there's themes. There seems to be, very common. Most of the clients that I come in are over 70 that I work with. They have the same areas of their body that seem to be, have problems and are causing discomfort. And so I started to analyze this, and I recognized that there are patterns, repetitive movement patterns that we are all doing. It's part of the fabric of our lives, and they lead to these imbalances. And so we're not going to be able to change those patterns necessarily. So I picked exercises, stretches that we can do that can help to better balance the hours that we're spending with these repetitive motions in our everyday life, so that the pain that we have from having it be all this exclusive repetitive motion can be mitigated by just doing a couple 15 reps 3 times a day of these series of stretches that I'm going to cover in this series. So the first one I'm going to address today is wrist and elbow pains, okay? So the repetitive motion that we tend to be doing in everyday life that is causing a higher frequency of wrist, even trigger finger and elbow pain is we're on devices a lot, all right? Unlike any other time in human history. So when you're on your keyboards, you're on your phone, we are like this, and you can see the wrist is flexed, all right? And we're doing this for hours a day. And then if you add this to when we sleep, we tend to, curl our wrists underneath our chins or behind, various sleep positions involve, again, this flexion, this C curve of the wrist. And why that's a problem is that the muscles of the forearm get shortened on this side and then tight and pull on the elbow, and the wrist gets, there's a tightening of the fascia and the different muscles that are involved in the wrist area that then can affect the fingers. But the area that needs to get stretched are these forearm flexor muscles, okay? So we got to do things that are going to take this position and open it into this position. Now, the stretches that I'm going to show you are not like, a lot of times you can do stretches like this, which you're now holding and taking it to the maximum range that can go. And on the surface, that would look like that would be a good thing to do. But what I have observed with my clients that are 70 and over is that when I try to do a stretch, a static stretch, which is what this is known to be, where you're stretching and then holding, it oftentimes results in a seizing up of the muscles because the muscles are kind of traumatized. They've been tight for so long that to take it to this more extreme position, although be it might be good for it, it has to be a process of getting it there. And if you try to do it too aggressively and too fast and then make it hold it, oftentimes that leads to more discomfort than relief. And so the stretch I'm going to show you for this wrist area and forearm and elbow, relief of elbow pains and discomforts, is the same as the rest of the stretches in the series, which is a 6-part series, and they are dynamic stretching. And all that means is that we are going to take them to their fullest range of motion in the opposite direction of the tightening, but we're going to do it in a manner that is rhythmic. So we're not going to pull it to its maximum and hold it. We're going to almost like internally massage it. The muscles we're targeting are going to go, we're going to like release and then let them, we're going to stretch them and then let them release, stretch them and let them release. And this is called dynamic stretching. And what we avoid in doing the stretching in this way is that spasming and tightening up that often results when you try to stretch a muscle group and it's just too aggressive. So because we're dealing with the wrist and the forearm muscles are the issue and the elbow, wrist elbow is what I'm targeting here with the forearm muscles becoming tight from repetitive everyday activities. So we've got to stretch these forearm muscles and we have to do it in a rhythmic manner. All right. Now I'm going to demonstrate 5 repetitions of this stretch. I'm going to show you. When you do this, you're going to do 15 repetitions and you're going to try and do it 3 times a day, every day, because you're spending many, many more hours in the flex position. So 3 times a day, 15 reps to go. The opposite is kind of like the minimum to try and, balance back spending too much time in the flex position. So all you need is a wall. I'm going to be using a door here because, like I said, I'm addressing 70 plus age population in this video series, and we don't want to go down to the floor, or we can't go down to the floor. So we're going to use a wall. All right. So you're going to put your hands up against the wall. You're going to do it evenly, but so for illustration purposes, I'm going to stagger my hands. And the first thing you do is you put your hands against the wall, spread your fingers. You're going to press the wrists into the wall, and then you're going to straighten your elbows. And right there, you're going to feel a stretch. So if that's too much, bend the elbows a little bit, but your goal is to try and get to the point where you can straighten your elbows. But let's say you have to bend them a little bit, because now you're on the door or the wall, and what you're going to do, your fingers start, there was a clock on this door, we're at 12 o'clock with our fingers, all right? And you're going to start, I call this around the clock. You're going to start to walk your fingers, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Maybe some of you can go to 7 o'clock, but you're only going to go as far as you feel a pull, but not a strain. And then you right away start walking back around the clock. So that was until you get back to 12 o'clock, and that's repetition number 1. Then right away, you start walking around the clock again, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then back around, or 7 o'clock, however far you go. Maybe it's 3 o'clock, and then back around. That is repetition back to 12. That's 2. Going around again, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, then back again, and in the reverse, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and we do that one more time for purposes of my illustration. Around the clock we go, around the clock we go, and again, working with the elbows to try and keep them as straight as you can without feeling discomfort and pain. Bend them if you do, just a little bit, and then back again till you come back to your original starting position of 12 o'clock. All right, so now what we've done is we have taken the wrists around and back, and we're in this position that's now the reverse of how we're spending much of our time in everyday repetitive activities. So 15 repetitions around the clock, and then back is 1, around the clock and back is 2, 15 times. And, if you only have time to do that once a day, that's fine. But as I said, you're spending hours in this flex position. So if you can do it 3 times a day for 15 reps, that would be a good frequency to try and get enough repetitions of this to back you out of some discomfort and pain that you have because these muscles are so tight. All right, so this is the first stretch in my series of 6 that I am addressing the discomfort, pain, stiffness of everyday repetition activities that we all do. And it's my 70 plus population, men and women both. Younger people can do these too. But I'm doing all the stretches are going to be in an upright position so that if you're over 70, it's easy to get into the position to do them. All right, everybody, this is episode number 1 in my series number 9 on reversing repetitive activity of everyday life and the imbalances that they cause in our bodies. And stay tuned for number 2. You're going to want to see all of them, but number 2 is coming up. And I hope that you have the same agenda as I in watching these videos. I want to make my second 50 years even better than my first. So I welcome you to join me on that path. Pleasure to see you on this video, and stay tuned for that. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening, everybody. And if you would like to have access to some of my additional resources, I can be found at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on my website, www.judyterrell.com.